Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
What is up, and welcome in. We are the One and Done Show. We are your fast break of college basketball information, and we are live before lock. I am your host, Eric Romoff. You can catch me on those Twitter streets at FantasyNav. And joining me, as always, he is the OG Money Mike. He is MC Holland34 on Twitter. He's the captain of our ship at Green Screens Media. He is Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, welcome in. We got about 50 minutes until lock. Ready to jump into this fun 8-gamer?
Hey, it's the first time. Oh, no, we went live from lock, I think, a little earlier during the holiday break. But yeah, I'm excited. 8 games. DK top prize, I believe, is 2K, and we're ready to rock and roll, man. Let's do it.
We are ready to rock and roll, and as always, we are in good company. I can assure you, Denny, this is real life. This is actually happening. We are here. We are doing it, and one of our favorites, Mama Rock's in here. She's usually part of that After Dark crew. She's not ready for the live before lock. Appreciate you swinging through. Clearly, Mama Rock's has those notification bells on, so appreciate your comments as always. Denny has confirmed he is here. He's ready to rock. If you are checking in here on YouTube, do your part in the Green Screens Media universe. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. We're like 19 away from 700. That was our goal heading towards the end of the year. So if you can hit that subscribe button, it's the best way to support our channel, best way to get all of this work that we're doing out to the people. But without further ado, Mike, let's take a look at this 8-game slate on the board. Pretty interesting texture overall. I guess before we jump directly into any of the games, any kind of macro thoughts on the games on the board? You know, how you think this one is going to kind of come together?
Yeah, I've built 90% of my lineups already, and we're all the big guys that we pay up for, man. And for a matter of fact, like, we're all the star guards. I think those were the last 2 slates that we covered. It's tough sledding, trying to find some value. And then, these totals, I mean, 148, two games at 148 or above, and then everything else is high 130s, low 140s. So, yeah, mid-tier is probably we're going to have to work the scenes and maybe go a little overweight on some of these pump plays that are probably going to be popular.
Ooh, well, let's jump right in. But before we do, Grady G checking in, giving us a quick what up.
Grady
Feeling
G.
good about that Badgers dub yesterday. Appreciate you swinging through, Grady.
Yeah, them Badges. Not feeling good about my Michigan State pick to win the Big Ten, but it is not February or March yet, so it is okay.
Check with us in March, and we'll see how that pick holds up. But like we said, let's jump right into this slate here. The first game on the board that we're going to hit is Memphis as a 3-point favorite at VCU. This game carries a 143-point total. We'll start on the Memphis side. They are 61st in the nation in the offensive efficiency, 32nd defensively, and a lightning fast 15th in tempo. So, Mike, looking at the Tigers here, what's catching your eye?
A lot. And I don't know that I have a build, maybe one. Well, I don't have 2 of these guys. And really, I'm kind of sticking to my love for Quinterly, man. I know he hasn't, he's kind of been up and down. He hasn't really put up like those monster games. I mean, the last slate that he was on, he did for us. So I like that. He's at 6K. And yeah, I'm going to be using him a lot. So Quinterly for sure at that 6K piece. I mean, he just does so much for this team. High shot rate, a high assist rate, and get you some steals. And in these games that are tight, he tends to really show out. So I really like Quinterly. Your guy David Jones, man, he's 8.5. The last 3 games, man, he has been going insane in the membrane. So I think I have a stack where I have Quinterly and Jones, but because it's 14-5, a little bit tougher to swallow. Where I'm trying to get a little unique is trying to come off of Quinterly with Jones down to Mills at 4.9. Mills, started the season a little bit banged up, playing high 20s minutes. I do like him. We know we played him at 6K, 7K when he was at Florida State. So I'll be using some shares of him. I think you can also one off this Memphis side because, VCU does play a slower tempo. They are pretty good defensively. So I don't mind just going one off on this side. Jaquan Walton, this is kind of an interesting spot. He's 5.2. This is a revenge narrative transferring over from VCU. So, I mean, it's not even the same team or coaches or anything. So I don't – it's just the logo in the school. Maybe that'll get him going. But, yeah, I mean, I do have love for Jones. That price tag is – you know what it is, playing Jones a lot. Quinterly I love a lot, and then Mills is probably – so I've had to rank them. It'd probably be Quinterly 1, Jones 2, Mills would probably be 3, and then I'll play some Walton. I think I do have a lineup in there with Nick Jourdain as well. He's kind of a video attack. He's at 4,300. So
4.3.
Yeah, if you want to try to get cheap in the forward spot, I've got one of those to go as well, man. What do you think about your boy Jones up at this price point?
I mean, look, my analysis is not going to be unbiased or cogent on David Jones, right? Like, I've been pot committed on this dude since he was suiting up for the Red Storm. So love to see him continue to pop off this year. But like you said, on this slate where there's not an abundance of value, right? Like, pairing up him with Quinterly is going to be really pricey. So he's probably the priority for me. I like the idea of trying to get a little bit of salary relief with Walton or with Mills as another way. Is that probably your most popular stack on this Memphis side, Jones and one of the guards?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jones and one of the guards, or I'm just going to one off one of the guards or Jones for sure.
Nice. Well, let's move over to the VCU side. You mentioned the revenge game narrative. I'm pretty sure with the state of the transfer portal, almost every game has several players that are looking at the revenge game narrative. But with regard to VCU specifically, 170th in offensive efficiency, 59th on the defensive side. They are the ones getting paced up. They play very slow at 318th in tempo. So, Mike, let's take a look at the Rams side. What's catching your eye?
Yeah, I got 4 guys in the player pool. Shulga, he's at 7K. I've gotten to him in about 30 to 40% of the lineups. He plays a ton of minutes. He's a boom bust, though. Can really give you some assists, can do some scoring for you. I'm really getting to Zeb Jackson. We played him a lot. He's a little bit cheaper, a few weeks ago. But he's 6'6". I've got not 6'6" in height, but he's 6'6" in price. I've got a lot of him. Where I'm playing 1 on the Memphis side, I'm either 2-2 stacking this, or I'm going. I've only a couple of 2. I think I got 1-2-1 for Memphis to VCU, and I've got a couple of playing 1 Jones or 1 Quinterly and running it back with either Shulga or Jackson, and then playing one of the cheaper guys, Bell. He's 5.4. He's guard and forward eligible. I have no idea why. He's their big man. It's kind of weird with that, but whatever. So I'll play some Bell with one of those 2. He's been playing 30 minutes a game. Nelson at 4.0 is enticing. This game's got to speed up for him to really get into the game. So I think I have him on 1 lineup just to try to catch a wild hair, right? Maybe he goes for a 20, gives me a 5x. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it on this VCU side.
So I guess staying there with Nelson specifically, you mentioned this game's got to speed up. I mean, do you think VCU is getting paced up to the point where he can be, a bigger priority, a bigger impact on this game, or is he really more of like a last guy in type?
Oh yeah, there's really only 2 guys I like under 4K or 4K or below. So yeah, I mean, I'll use them in a couple of lineups, but I'm really trying to build through the middle on this slate.
That makes good sense to me. Before we move off of this game, let's take a look at the old PrizePicks streets here. Move this over. So for this game in particular, 2 lines that jump out for us. David Jones, my favorite, over here at 14.5 points. This one is actually now moved to 15.5 points. You got to get those lines early. So we were looking at an over there. Mike, we'll do this thing live. Now that we're up to 15.5 points, is that still an over, or is this one that you probably walk away from?
No, I'm still over. He just takes a ton of shots for this team.
Dude's taking shots, so we like it now at 15.5. And then also his teammate, old Javon Quinterly, specifically looking at his PRA 17.5. This is another one that we like for an over here. Game environment sets up well. This is the guy that he sops up a ton of usage, right? So the picks on this side like getting over to Javon Quinterly with 17.5 PRA to the over, as well as David Jones over 15.5 points. All right, so moving on to our second showcase game here. Not even showcase games. We're going game by game all the way down the slate. So next one, kind of feels like kind of a weird spot overall. But Mike, why don't we jump in? Penn State 8-point underdogs at Maryland, 140-point total. Anything of note on this side to bring up?
I'm not in love with this game. I think if I, maybe a one-off here or there. Wahab, he's a revenge narrative, but he's played. It's like, amazing, right? 7-4. Like, I don't think that you have to get there. Baldwin is 7-3. I don't mind him. He plays a ton of minutes, ton of usage. Is a great defensive player, so he'll rack up some steals. But Penn State, man, +8, and I think this game. I think they might get blown out in this game. Honestly, Maryland needs a quality win here. I don't. Clary, like, he shoots the ball a lot. He's 6.2. Okay. I'm just not in love with this game. Reese at 8.3. I think you can make a case to get him in. He's just a double threat every night. I think I've got him at about 20% right now. We have to pay attention to the young news on Maryland's side. So he's questionable. I don't know that we have a definitive answer on what's going on with him. As of last check, we're probably not going to get this information until right before
5 minutes after lock.
Yeah, 5 minutes after lock. If he's out, then Harris Smith at 5.1 and Long at 3.5, they become interesting plays to me. But outside of that, man, I'm really just looking to go to Ace Baldwin. Snake Eyes in here in the comments. Jabari Long 3.2. If Young is out for Maryland, super value play. Is he? I thought I saw him at 3. What is Long at? 3.5.
5.3. Yeah. Or excuse me, 3.5 inverted it. Jabari Long 3.5.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go to him if Reese is out. I mean, not Reese. If Young is out, but I don't know, man. We might not even get that news. So don't hold your breath. If you catch it last second, that's awesome. So outside of that, I don't know, man. Looks like Jason B dropping us a good evening, gents, and Young is warming up, so soon playing.
Yeah,
so,
that insider information from Jason B.
That, Jason. I don't care for. I don't care for much of this game, man. If you want to toss in a Baldwin, if you want to toss in some Reese, I get it. But outside of that, man, that's about it.
Nice. Cleaning up the rest of the comments, some more live before lock love. TJHH31 is wishing he had some more stubs to build out live. Definitely. I mean, look, as a practice, right? I'm out here just reserving these lineup spots pretty much every single day, knowing that even if I don't intend on jumping in, I'm going to get the itch. I'm going to get after it. Appreciate you swinging through the comment section. Definitely let us know if you have any other questions. Given the overall kind of disinterest around this one, nothing to mention on the PrizePicks side, but I get the sense that this might be changing with regard to our next game. We've got Texas getting 8 points at Marquette. 148-point total. Your fighting Texas Longhorns, 22nd in offensive, 46th in defensive efficiency, a little bit slower than middle of the road, 226th in tempo. Mike, you want to kick us off with the Longhorn side?
Yeah, Longhorns might get blown out here, and that's my team. I really like Shedrick at 7.2 because what happens, Eric, whenever Bigs play against Marquette? They go off. So Shedrick showed 30, 40 fantasy point upside. You can play Mitchell, he's 7.8, but really my priority is going to be Shedrick at 7.2. Max Asmus, like he's going to take a bunch of shots, but man, the guard pressure is going to be a lot. So not as interested in him at 8.4. I do have some interest in Hunter at 5.6. Boom bust play for GPP. I think I've got 10% of him just to see if he can get something going. Get you a 25 at that spot. More interest on the Marquette side, 11th in offensive efficiency, 17th in defensive efficiency, 202nd in tempo. Really, it's two guys for me, man. Jones is almost a lock, 6.1.
Dude, when are they ever going to get his price right?
I don't know,
like,
man.
They've just gotten completely wrong.
Yeah, but the thing is, too, Kolik's at 7.4, and that's just because he's been up and down. Prioritizing getting one of those guys on pretty much every lineup. I don't know that I'm going to play them together. I don't think I have them together on any lineup. But, yeah, Kolik at 7.4, like, we know he can go for 45. So definitely some Kolik love.
Nice. So I guess looking at this game in particular overall, what's your approach? You mentioned that Shedrick is the priority on the UT side. Are you just looking at kind of a 1-and-1? Are you looking at one-off pieces from either side of this game?
Yeah, I think on almost every lineup I'm 1-1. I've either got Shedrick or Hunter. There may be a few lineups where I don't have a Longhorn, but I have a Marquette guy, either Kolik or Jones, on every single lineup. I just don't play these other not on this type of slate. I'm not playing Joplin and Iguodala's, like whatever. I'm planting my flag, moving on.
Nice. Well, a studious breadhead of the GSM universe, Mama Rocks knows how it gets down. Those Texas bigs are going to beat up all over the Marquette front court. And before we move off of this game altogether, let's switch on over to the PrizePicks side. This one is pretty interesting. So we're going to stay with the Shedrick love here. We're going to look at his rebounds going over 6.5. I think he's going to be out here cleaning up this glass. And then Mike, I need you to chime in here because you gave me an either or. I'm getting kind of core 4 vibes here. You listed Asmus and Hunter both over their points. Asmus at 15.5, Hunter at 10.5. I guess if you had to plant your flag on either of those, which would you say you have the greater confidence in?
So I'm going to plant my flag on the term or. I would not play both the over on Asmus and Hunter.
Correct.
I plant the over. Asmus shoots the ball a ton. Just because of the straight volume and how many threes he takes, like I'll take the Asmus over 15.5, but I'm not feeling great about it. It's really his price tag on DK where it's like 8.4, where even if he gets to 18 points, like he's going to need to go a whole lot more than that to pay off his DK price tag.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe not the biggest of priorities in terms of DFS, but a line that you can definitely take advantage of on those PrizePicks streets. Moving on along, coming up on 30 minutes before lock. If you have not already, hit that like button. Let everyone know that we're out here talking about this slate right before it goes live. If you are not already a member, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support our channel. And get up in those comments. Let us know what you like about tonight's slate. Let us know if you have any questions. We're here going through these lineups so that you can have everything you need as we lead up into lock. And that leads us to our next game overall. South Carolina, 6-point dogs at Clemson, 138-point total. South Carolina side playing a pretty good brand of basketball. 48th offensively, 82nd defensively, a little bit slow, 341st in tempo. So, Mike, kick us off with the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I mean, we were all over them last slate, right? But prices have come up, and the matchup's a lot different than playing old James Bishop over there in the fighting George Washingtons. So, yeah, I don't know that I can get to any of these guys, man. Like Michi Johnson's now 7-7. Like, if you want to do it, like, and you beat me with it, okay, whatever. On the road, rivalry at Clemson. Okay, like whatever. It's not for me, but for a large field tournament, I could see you going there. Max, same situation. I mean, he's got an even tougher matchup. So he's 7-6. I mean, the prices have come up by $1,000 on both of these guys to where they should be. This is just not the spot with the 138-point total. Cooper, you can X him off. Studi at 4.6 is slightly interesting just because he shoots a lot of threes and in the price point, but I'm not. I don't know, man. Like I unless you're doing like a 5 or 10% play to see if one of them, hits that boom. I'm not really going to anything on South Carolina because I'm going to a lot, or not, shouldn't say a lot of, but I am playing a lot of shares on each lineup of some Clemson guys for sure.
Oh, we going back to the well with a Clemson team that had some big performers for us a few nights ago. This is a Clemson team that is 21st in offensive efficiency, 42nd defensively, and 288th in tempo. So should be a slow game overall. But Mike, let's not bury the lead any further. Who are you liking on the Clemson side?
BJ Hall's 10-1, but I don't think I can get there with the tough value. You're gonna need a couple of guys under 4.5 to really get there. And I'm talking like more than 4x because he's going to need to go 5x in tournaments to make up if they go 3.2 or even 4 or even 4.5, honestly. So, I mean, I love it. I think he's going to dominate in this matchup. I'm just not getting to him. And if he's higher owned, I get it, but I'm just not doing that. I'm billing out through the mid. I'm not even really getting to Gerard because we know every time he goes boom, like a bust is right around the corner, but more so because of the price, right, at 7.2. Once he gets over that, he's so shot dependent. Like it's just terrifying playing him over 7K. So, if he beats me with a 33, okay. Where I'm really going on this team is I'm trying to buy low. I'm trying to get to Chase Hunter at 5.5. We know how important he is to this team. He's got 25 to 30 fantasy point ceiling. I get it. It's an ugly matchup, but he's probably not going to be he's not going to be owned at all. I wouldn't think. I don't know that a lot of people are gonna go to him. And then we have to look at Wiggins, man, with the injuries and everything. Jack Clark's going to miss the game. Down here at 3.7K, played 30 minutes last game. He's one of those guys, and he's at that forward position that it's really hard to find value. Oh boy, like everybody on this squad is terrifying outside of Hall because he's going to get his. But I'm going to be playing a pretty good amount of Wiggins, and I think I've got about 20% Hunter. I think I've got 5% Gerard just to cover my ground there.
So zooming out a little bit, right? Like value's hard to come by. You mentioned it's a very short list of guys 4K and below that you're interested in clicking their name. Sounds like this is the case. Wiggins is one of those people on the short list. Yes.
Yeah.
That is a yes. My follow-up question, part of the reason why you're paying down is so you can get up to a guy like Hall. So in this environment, is there a world, are there any builds out of your pool where you're playing Hall and Wiggins together?
I am I'm doing the crazy thing today, and I don't recommend this for everybody, but I'm fading Hall tonight. I have
outright fade.
Yeah, outright fade. I just play my flag some nights, and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it works out really well. I just don't know this ownership's going to be anything crazy. I mean,
it's the type of slate where it's going to be hard to get up to him all that often, right? So like, at minimum, that's a limiting factor for how many builds he's going to be on.
Yeah, and if he goes for 42, I don't think he destroys your mid-tier lineup. Still have a chance at 4.5, 5x. So
they do.
If he reaches back and gets a 50, I'll just whatever. I'll just move on to tomorrow.
Yes, Mike is very much so subscribed to the approach of he wants to either ship this tournament or wants to have an early night and start building for tomorrow. So that's one way to do it. Sounds like Mama Rocks is rocking with you. Likes to Chase Hunter call. Sounds like there is a bit of a mid-tier balance build kind of in the works there. So keep those comments coming. Let us know if you have any questions. We will move on to the next game on the board. San Francisco, 5-point favorites at Vanderbilt, 137-point total. San Fran is about league average on the offensive side. Very good defensively, 25th. They're playing at the 262nd fastest tempo. So, Mike, anytime we have some defensive teams that are moving slow, usually that's a sign of something that is not going to be a huge priority for us. Is that the case with this game in particular?
Yeah, I mean, you look at tempo for Vandy, 282. Defensive efficiency is not great, but they're not great on offense. So I think people will have some love for Tyron Lawrence. I have a little bit of love. I think we got the news that Colin Smith is going to be in. So Lang at 3.2, who a lot of people have been playing. I think he's kind of X'd out now with the news that Colin Smith is going to play. So he might play 16 minutes, but if I'm going to spend, 3.2, like I might as well find the $800 or to go up to Nelson, or the $500 to go up to Wiggins. So not playing any Lang. Man, this whole game's ugly on the San Francisco side too. Like Mogbo at 9.4, like his price has gone way. He's been crushing though. So yeah, I'm okay with going there. I don't have much of it. I think I have 10% Mogbo right now. I do like Williams, 6.4. He shoots the ball a ton. A lot of usage, playing a ton of minutes, kind of in that mid tier. I've got him rotated around a little bit. Sharp Jumps is $600 cheaper. I think I've got him in one lineup, 5.8, but 137 total, man. Like this game just screams ugly. Really, if you're going to play anybody, I wouldn't play more than one guy in this game. Williams probably be my number one priority. Lawrence probably be 2, and then Sharp Jumps if you're just trying to save a little bit of salary and get someone that can 4X.
That makes sense. And oftentimes when we are crossing a game off the board on the DFS side, that doesn't necessarily mean that we are not interested on with regard to PrizePicks for this game in particular. Like this Tyron Lawrence line, 14.5, like this one to go over. Mike, any thoughts in particular about how this one sets up for Lawrence with regard to this point total?
Yeah, I mean, he's just going to chuck. He
Always
has to
does.
score. He has to score for this team. He's super aggressive. So, yeah, I just think that's a nice line to go over. So, yeah, I think he should be able to get that taken care of.
Nice. We will add that one to the card. Before we move on to our next game, we missed a comment here. Mike wanted to know core for tonight. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does
absolutely.
the day end in Y? Does a bear blank in the woods? Does a one and done live stream have a core 4? You know it. We are chugging along here. We got about 25 minutes until lock. Our goal is to hit that core 4 within about 5 to 10 minutes of lineup lock. So we will keep moving along here to the next game. Pitt is heading to West Virginia as 2-point favorites, a 140-point total. Pitt is playing 64th and 66th in offensive and defensive efficiency, respectively, 117th in pace. West Virginia, much slower. They are the one getting paced up, 307th in that regard. A little bit better on the defensive side than they are offensively, 184th on the defensive regard, 160th offensively. So, Mike, let's take a look at this game in particular. You want to start us off with maybe the Pitt side here?
Yeah, it's like pulling teeth with the Pitt guys because there's so many of them now. The prices have come way up from where they were at the beginning of the season. Carrington at 7.9. I don't know. There's not much ceiling there. I mean, its total is 140 on KenPom. It's supposed to be a close game, so I think there's a chance that one guy could go off here. I don't know though. Like I have more interest in Leggett, save $100. Takes a bunch of shots for this team. I'm off of Henson because all he does is shoot. At 7.7, I need him to do a little bit more than that. Federico at 5.5. I think he's gonna have to be on the floor a ton. He could get into foul trouble though. There's obviously Jesse Edwards that's on the side, on the other side. But I like him for some cheap stats at the 5.5. More interested in one-offing the West Virginia side. I'm getting to these guys. I'm about on 50% of my lineups. I'm getting to about 50% of Edwards and 50% of Slazinski. So Edwards at 9K. Like he's live every single tournament. We know he has massive upside, especially on this team where there are no bodies. Like they could probably run us out there for 5 minutes to help them out. Slazinski, 7.5. Yeah, I mean, he's more shot dependent, right? Like Edwards can get you a double-double. He can block like 5 shots. Slazinski's going to have to make 3s, but he's going to take a ton of shots. So I've gotten to some
And
Slazinski.
he's making them.
Yeah, he's making them too. So he's going to continue to shoot. He's just going to shoot. You hope that he maybe trips over a rebound, grabs an assist here or there, can maybe block a shot once. That would be nice. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, this game environment kind of ugly. What I'm doing in this one is, like I said, splitting 50% of my lineups and then using a 50-50 approach on Edwards and Slazinski for my last forward spot. I have one Federico, I have one Leggett, and that's about it from Pitt. So yeah, that's about it for that game.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if I hate the Federico call, right? You mentioned he's going to have to get some more run. That last game saw 30 minutes, right? Season high in playing time. He's not the type of player that, can completely explode, but 5.5K is below starting salary. So might get you a bit of flexibility by working him in there. We will work on to our next game, that is Nebraska as 2-point favorites at Minnesota, 148 implied total for this game. Nebraska much stronger on the offensive side, 31st in that regard, 118th on the defensive side, about league average, a little bit slower in tempo. Minnesota comes in pretty similar in that regard, 217th. Minnesota is also 111th on the offensive efficiency and 128th in defensive efficiency. So, Mike, think there might be a couple of guys to talk about here on the Nebraska side. Let's move over there first.
Yeah, I've got three guys. I got Rink Mast, just solid rates, man. Such a good player. It's crazy how Nebraska's only a 2-point favorite at Minnesota after starting the year 7-0, and then getting just whopped by Creighton. So with that terrible strength of schedule. So who didn't see that coming? But Mast at 8.0, I'm playing him. I think I was about 15% right now. I am using one of my utility spots, one of my guard spots. I think I'm all 5'3", guard to forward. So 5 guards, 3 forwards on every lineup. I've got a shout out from AJ here, and he's calling out our guy, my guy, Keisei Tominaga at 5.3. Yes, I do have
Tominaga.
him. I think I'm 10% on him and 10% Williams, who's at 6.3. Williams got, obviously better rates across the board. I can get you assists, can get you some boards. Tominaga is a shooter, shoot. he could pop off easily for a 25 to 30 piece. So don't mind splitting the difference between those two guys. And honestly, on the Minnesota side, like, even though the total is 148, like, they play so many guys. Their pricing is just kind of meh.
Killer.
Man, like Hawkins at 6.9, I guess you could take a look. It doesn't excite me. Payne at 5.7. Like, if you like LMI, if you LMI though, I would rather you have 5.8 and have to play Payne. But like LMI on Hawkins, like, just reconstruct your lineup. I don't think
make better life choices if you're clicking that button.
Yeah, I don't think I've played any Minnesota guys. I'm not going all the way up to 9-3 for Dawson Garcia. Even though it's a close matchup, like, I don't know. I'm not going to pay 10-1 for PJ Hall. I'm not going to pay 9-3 for Dawson Garcia. So,
I mean, to that end, you would rather pay 10-1 for PJ Hall than 9-3 for Dawson Garcia. 100%, right?
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Well, you mentioned our guy Anthony G, OG Breadhead, member of Club Dub, up in these comments, 14th in the $5 last night, working off of that core 4 and off the show we did. Had Uzon was his guy last year, got that 40 piece this go round, and also circling back to the Marquette guys, a little too cheap over there. We're going to see a lot of exposure and ownership go to those Marquette guys. Specifically, the Marquette guards are going to be super popular. And last, certainly not least, Tommy checking in, guys grinding at it again. We're out here for you, Tommy. Want to see you guys get this bread. Want to see you guys getting green screens. If you guys are shipping anything, make sure that you are dropping those victory laps in the comments. Tag us on Twitter at One and Done CBB. Let us know when you're getting this bread, when you're seeing those green screens. Mike, we are about 18 minutes until lock. We have one more game to get to here. This one looks kind of nifty. There's a couple of spots here that I think we can at least double click on. SMU, a 3-point road dog at Arizona State, 137-point total in this one. SMU is 107th on the offensive side, 53rd defensively, about league average in terms of tempo. ASU, 196 offensively, 24th defensively, 100 in tempo. So for me, there's a couple of interesting things to double click on with regard to pricing. Why don't we start off with the SMU side?
Yeah, really only for you guys here to know, like, Drake Phelps at 8.2. I don't have any interest in him, but he's the guy that has huge shot rate, huge usage rate. Like if you have to play an SMU guy like Harris at 6.5, he is Chuck Harris. Chuck's a lot. I don't plan on using any of these guys. If you want to, like, okay. A little more interest and not a lot though on the Arizona State side. Perez at 6.8, man, he's just playing a ton of minutes. Usage is going up. Like, yeah, I mean, if he's gonna run out there for 35 minutes, you could do worse, right? Takes a lot of shots. Gaffney at 6.6, straight boom bust play. Like, had it the other day, missed it a few times before that with Gaffney at 6.6. He's okay for that forward position. That's always kind of ugly. And if you're working through the mid, like, can you get to him? I think I have him on one lineup. Jemiah Neal at 6.5. He's kind of in that same situation. These are kind of just boom bust guys that are in an ugly total. So, this game and the the San Francisco Vanderbilt game, even the Penn State Maryland game, I don't even know that it's like if you wanted to cross all three off, like I completely get it. That's just kind of where I'm at with those games. If you want to one off, a piece here or there, I understand that too.
Yeah, look, I think on this type of slate, you have to kind of plant your flag, right? And part of that is the guys you decide to play. Part of that are the situations that you decide to avoid, right? So, a couple of points per dollar options here that sort of caught my eye. But yeah, given the game environment, not necessarily the most plus EV option on the board. So that does it. Here we are, 15 minutes before lock. We've gotten through all 8 of these games. Appreciate everyone that's been rocking with us for the last 45 minutes or so. We still have time. We'll be hanging out pretty much all the way up until lock. So let us know if you have any questions, any other thoughts in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. But like we talked about earlier, I should say, ask and you shall receive. If we're here live, we're going over a core 4. That's exactly what we're moving into tonight. So now that we've covered all 4 of these games, let's talk about all 8 of these games. Let's talk about the 4 guys that are going to be our foundation for tonight's slate. We'll start off with Zeb Jackson, the VCU option here. I mean, look, 6.6K is just a real nice price tag. There's a lot that you can do with this. Should be a guy that's going to be getting plenty of usage and opportunity in tonight's game. Following that up, we talked about him right off the top. Anyone that is just joining us now, Javon Quinterly, a huge priority on this slate. Mike, like you mentioned, you're going to be rotating around a lot of the Marquette guards. So the name that we'll put into the core 4, Cam Jones, 6.1K, going to get you a little bit more flexibility with that price tag. A guy that is perennially underpriced. So will probably be a little bit popular, but the flexibility goes a long way. Last, certainly not least, and maybe not somewhat surprisingly, got to fit in the Longhorn here. We got Shedrick at 7.2K as the 4th piece of our core 4. So with these 4 in here, leaves you about 6K per player remaining. A lot of flexibility that you can do with that. As we always do, Mama Rocks loving the core 4, loving the live stream here. Mike, before we close out, any kind of priority punts right there? It feels like there's a limited number of pay down options on the board. So which are the ones that you're going to in order to get to some of those top tier options?
Yeah, let me say this first about the core. I think tonight is one of those nights where you have a guy that is literally interchangeable with on the same team. It's like with Zeb Jackson, like the core tonight could easily have been Max Shulga at 7K.
Wait. Is this a core 4 or more?
Yeah, it's like the inverse of the core. Inverse option here of the core. So literally, you can move from Zeb Jackson at VCU. I wouldn't be mad if you went to Max Shulga, right? From Memphis, from Javon Quinterly, like I wouldn't mind if you played a lot of Caleb Mills at 4.9. From Cam Jones, obviously you got to pay up a little bit more, right, to get over to Tyler Kolek. But Tyler Kolek's too cheap for his ceiling. He's 7.4.
It's wild.
Yeah,
How did he get down this low?
Yeah, it's just been up and down, man. They've been playing a lot of guys off the bench too. So that's kind of one of the things, all those guys that they retained. They're just getting a little more run this year. Caden Shedrick, you could easily slot over, like Dylan Mitchell is right there, right? Some of the other Texas options we talked about. You could pay down for someone like Tyrese Hunter and these are large field tournament. The Jackson, Quinterly, Jones, and Shedrick, these guys are what we call like high floor. Still really good ceiling on these guys, but they're going to give you a higher floor for tournaments. The plays like Kolick, Shulga, even Dylan Mitchell. These guys carry way lower floors, but carry ceilings that are pretty significant. So Tommy Kramer here, nice, the inverse core 4. Yeah, and that's what I'd play a lot, honestly. I'd play a lot of like, hey, here's the core, because I played 20 lineups basically. Here's the core 4. And then, AJ was talking about how he had Uzan. Well, last night on our core was JB and McCollum. And this kind of hurts me sometimes. This McCollum and Uzan went for 40, basically. So where I didn't have McCollum, I had Uzan. And that was my best lineup, actually, because he was $1,000 cheaper. If I had both, I'm sitting at 80 points and only spent I know last year, I'm sure sometimes this year, Eric, you've done the thing where you either play both guards or you play both forwards together. I just love to play the guard forward combinations, just because I try to get the assist, right? Try to get all the fantasy points that are available, essentially. But sometimes it's two bigs or two guards that all the protective rebounds fall to them. Like everything just kind of happens that way. So you can get different that way by playing. I wouldn't be upset if you played Kolick and Jones together. I wouldn't be upset if you played I have a Quinterly and Mills together, taking my own advice, right? I definitely think there's a bunch of different ways you can go. It's just tough to find value. And some of these other games that I cross off, like Reese from Maryland, get some shares. Perez 6.8, like get some shares. Jesse Edwards, get some shares. Tyron Lawrence, maybe sneak him in if you can. But yeah, really what I'm trying to stick to is running about 3 guys in the Memphis VCU game. Really trying to get minimum 2 guys, maybe even a third from the Texas Marquette game. And then trying to one-off pieces, like, trying to get to the Clemson cheap guys, Hunter and Wiggins. And then just take stands where you think you should take stands. It's just kind of where, watch for the injury news too.
That injury news will always have a way of cropping up and biting you. And like you mentioned, right? You call it the inverse. I like to call it the alternate universe of the core 4, right? Like whenever I have a ton of exposure to guys, especially guys that are, even guys that are huge priorities, right? Like to take a step back and say, what could go wrong here, right? And basically build out a couple of iterations that cover that ass while something goes sideways, So the inverse core 4, the alternate universe core 4.
One quick thing on that, honestly, you're bringing up a great point. My best lineup was with Uzan, which was a inverse of what we had on McCollum, and then also 75% Justin Moore. Well, when I didn't play Justin Moore, I had Tyler Burton at like 5,700. He went off for like almost 30 fantasy points. So I had Uzan, and so basically the best lineup I had was an alternate universe. I don't know what that says about me building my main lineups, but tournament status,
Yeah, man. Like it's hard to try to cover all bases out there, right? But for us, largely we're building around that core 4, but you do have to take that objective look and try to see where the one outers live and try to account for that. So something that we definitely do. Mike, before we get out of here, any of these priority pay down options that you're using to get up to the top guys?
Yeah, I'm using a lot of Wiggins at 3.7. I'm using a lot of Nelson because I do think the game's going to get sped up. He's at 4K. Mills, he's 49. Like, you can get to Jourdain at 4,300.
Reasonable.
Yeah, so I'm trying to use as little as possible because I'm not using a ton of PJ Hall. I've got a sprinkle of some Reese. I don't have any Dawson Garcia because I just don't know that the guys at the bottom are just going to, go for 6X, 5X. So it's like, what's the point of them going, 5 or 6X, and then Hall going for 4X? Like, it just it kind of evens itself out. And if they go under 4x, you know, your studs at the top like Garcia and Hall, they're gonna have to go for 50 to beat me. So plus this is an ugly slate. You need to try to draw at as many points as possible from the mid-tier. And I think that's kind of where most of this value lies when you kind of look at some of these guys that have 30, 40 fantasy point upside in the mid-tier.
You absolutely love to see it. We're about 5 minutes before lock. If you have any of those last-second questions, go ahead and get those in. I'm going to switch gears a little bit back to those PrizePicks streets, recap our card here. We like David Johnson to go over his 15.5-point line. Javon Quinterly, David Jones, Javon Quinterly, 17.5 PRA. We like that for an over as well. Caden Shedrick just going to be cleaning up the glass all night. 6.5 rebounds, going more in that regard. Your guy A. Smith chucking it up. Like him to go over 15.5 points. And finally, Tyron Lawrence over 14.5 points in his game. So that's how we're filling out our card on the PrizePicks streets. For anyone that is checking in with us, we appreciate you rocking with us before this lineup lock. It's been a fun one. We don't get to go live before lock all that often. So love everyone swinging through whenever we have the chance to. And man, everyone showed up in true colors, right? This chat was completely on fire. Anthony G, Mama Rocks, Tommy TGHH30, Jason B, Mike B, Snake Eyes, Denny, Grady. Appreciate all you guys rocking through with us. Appreciate your support as we are trying to help you build out these winning lineups a few minutes before lock. If you are not already, make sure that you are following all of our social handles at One and Done CBB on Twitter, also at Get Green Screens. Make sure you are subscribed here on the YouTube channel. Follow our guy Mike at MC Holland 34. He is the captain of our ship. Mike, as the captain of our ship, one more question before we get out of here. Kolick or Leggett tonight? Sounds like Mike T is working in that last guy in right now.
Yeah, the way I'm doing it is playing. If you don't have Jones in your lineup, I'd play Kolick. I think you got to have one of the Marquette guards. If you have Jones in the lineup, like I don't mind going to Leggett, but I also don't mind putting them together. So looks like we got a few guys here in the chat as well as we clean this up. What we got?
Yeah, Denny loves to see it. Anthony loves to see it. Appreciate you guys swinging through. Appreciate
Anthony, man. Appreciate the shout out.
Yeah, we always love to see some new faces in here. Anthony, let us know if you have any questions along the way. Sounds like Anthony's been checking in before, but don't know if we've seen you in the comments. So maybe the time change allows him to get in here and chop it up with us. We certainly appreciate that. Appreciate all of you guys rocking with us tonight. Like I mentioned, if you are not already, follow everyone on the socials. Also, get over to drroto.com. Get yourself signed up. That gets you into our members-only Discord where Mike, myself, Jay, the whole team, we're all chopping it up, talking lineups, talking last-minute news, talking pivots. So ton of fun in there, a lot of green screens being shared. And up in that Discord, as well as following us on Twitter and subscribing to us on YouTube, is far and away the best way to get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.